It's how I live my life. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show where all of us got into the studio like in the last 2 minutes, I think. And at least Jackie and I are like, oh my word, we're frazzled.
I just got out of my pool.
I was editing the stuff for the new book, the new version of the Learn Series 3. So, yeah.
That's good.
Whew.
We were doing recess for homeschool.
Yeah. You know what's frustrating is, and I think that I may talk to you actually, Dan, after this, because I know you're a really strong Mac guy, because I'm having to swap machines back and forth because, I need the PC for certain things. I need the Mac for certain things. But I got this MacBook that I'm on now that is super powerful, huge hard drive and everything. I should just run Parallels. Have you tried Parallels or any of those kind of solutions?
Not too much. I have a little bit of experience with VMware, but like, not really. And there's a boot camp function for your Mac where it can just like boot into the other. But no, I don't know. I run all my business on my Mac. I haven't been on the PC world for a while. So yeah, that would be interesting to have a chat, like things that you need that it doesn't do.
Well, and the thing is that on the Macs, on the MacBook Pros, the screen resolution is not HD. So it's like nothing works. Like everyone's saying you need it in 720 or 1080 and nothing works. Yeah,
there's a cool one that Tom Green put me onto a while back. It's ResX. So it's an application that runs on your Mac, and then you can just choose the resolution you want.
Oh, dude, I gotta write that down.
So you could say, I want 1280 by 720, and it'll make your screen so you'll see black on your MacBook Pro, but it'll only record the 720 screen. So it's ResX. I think
that's exactly what I need. See, Dan is like, who you remind me of, Dan, is Ian Usher. He's another Adobe Ed leader.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
The guy, he has the internet memorized, the whole thing.
Yeah,
You're kind of that way too. It's always just like, oh yeah. So the other day I was trying to print some dye sublimated 12% transparent texture on the surface of water, and I couldn't figure it out. And Dan goes, oh yeah, we've done that before. You can do it in 3D too.
That's awesome, dude. Oh man, yeah. Well, so it's Switch Res X is what it's called. I went and looked the actual name on my settings. Yeah, because I had that same problem. I had to make videos and stuff, and it didn't fit anybody's. Yeah, it was a mess. It's good, man.
This is going to solve a huge problem for me. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Speaking of solving problems, Dan.
Yes, that's what I
hear that Adobe has come to the rescue to solve problems for our kids that are stuck at home and don't have the software at home.
Well, we're certainly trying. It was. I have a unique perspective on all that. I think I feel pretty privileged. When this COVID thing hit, I was right there on the front line at Adobe, like watching this happen all over the country. And so, just watching how that all kind of went down, and people really, I felt like it was like fallout shelter type stuff, like grab whatever crap you can find and run out of the building.
Yeah.
And that left a lot of schools in a pretty tough spot.
Man, thinking about that for how that felt for teachers. That is some anxiety producing stuff.
Well, and like some of the stuff that they like grabbed, I mean, it was like, we got 50 laptops on this cart, just like send them home. And then they get home and there's like no administrative rights, no way to manage it. They can't, so the school can't like remote in because it's not on site, and they need to run an update, but they can't. So now the kid can't use it. And it's like, it was a total catastrophe, and nobody's at fault. It's just like you grabbed what you had and you ran out. My favorite story I got to tell you though, Rob, I had a school. They, the way they solved this, because everybody just didn't come back. And so they had all the technology at the school. I kid you not, they put it on school buses and they set up drop times for the parents. So all the technology was on the bus, and then the kid just met at the bus stop and picked their technology up off the bus.
That's a really good solution, man.
Insane. Like I was like, that awesome. They should
be so obvious.
And then just pick your technology up off the bus. And so rebounding from that is, how do you rebound from that? That's tough. So,
yeah.
A lot of our software at Adobe is all licensed for the lab, and so now you just left your lab computers at school. Kids have Chromebooks, and what do you do? And so I've been working on that problem since about March. It's been very interesting to be involved in that.
We actually have a call, I think, with Tasty today where we're going to see if we can provide, a solution by spinning up like virtual servers and running it on there. But I think it's just going to be too cost prohibitive for most of our school customers.
For your guys' stuff, for Brain Buffet?
Yeah.
Or for us? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Brain Buffet. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can do it, but it's only, I'm pretty positive it's just like the oldest version, like CS6. Like I think you can get Citrix servers or something with CS6 already pre-installed and just deploy like as they need them. But from our initial hearing, what we heard is actually Jackie's husband that kind of mentioned it. But the initial research shows us it's going to be just really expensive, too much for schools, I think.
Yeah. Well, and we're working on some things here. I can't go too much detail, but we're working on, what if Adobe could stand up a solution for people? What if you needed virtualization and you just didn't have the resource to stand it up? What if we could, provide a license that could include virtualization? So we're exploring some of those options because we definitely hear that people are, at home with a Chromebook. And so maybe there's something there, that we could figure out. And because even if they get the software, they still need the training. And so I think that's one of the great things about your stuff being all web-based is nice, so that it's easy to get access to it and all that. So,
well, Candy is saying it's great to hear from people that are supporting the teachers. And I think it's important to anybody who might just be stumbling upon this, that even though we are all now in business, we were all teachers. So there are a lot of people who are running the show that are familiar with the education world. So it's not like I know that a lot of times teachers, we felt, at least I felt, that sometimes some of the higher ups never stepped into a classroom sometimes. And it was like, how can you relate? And we all know what everybody's going through, at least in the classroom setting. We don't know what you're going through right now. We can only imagine, because I can't imagine being in my classroom and then all of a sudden being told, okay, well, we're leaving today on Thursday and you're not coming back, at least not until August. So
if you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome.
Yeah, no kidding. That's I think that's how my school felt when I left in April, and I just didn't come back from spring break because I moved over to Adobe. I was fortunate enough to hire my own replacement. I don't want anybody to think that I left people high and dry, but it's crazy. So, so to that point though, Rob, I mean, that's really what happened. Our CEO, Shantanu, he has been always a big proponent of education. And, we ran the free COVID from March all the way through to like the end of July almost, because people needed it extended. So we extended it. We tried to work with people all of August. And it was clear that like our K-12 institutions, they were not ready for this. And, some of the post-secondary folks, the college folks it's a little bit different because they'd been having online classes, those kinds of things. And so they were able to kind of rebound and stand up a little bit easier. But with this K-12 situation, it's just so difficult to just all of a sudden one day you just don't have your class, and you've never done it online and people don't know how to teach online. And so we started trying to stand up resources, like we did some distance learning resources that are available on the Education Exchange, and we did some of those things, and it just wasn't getting the job done. And we had a bunch of people with licensing that just wasn't any good to them because it was in the lab on premise only. We can't virtualize that. So that's when Shantanu kind of looked at the team and said, you have to, we're going to stand this up for education. And, there may be a revenue hit, whatever, who cares? They need access. And so we found that out, just like last week. They just said, hey, we're going to stand this up. And that was on a Thursday. And on Monday, anybody who had the free licenses in the spring, our provisioning department just turned it all back on. So people didn't have to call back in. They didn't have to fill out new forms. Like anyone that had it in the spring, it's already on. And kids can just go sign in with their school account. So
excellent. And what about people that don't have it? That they didn't have it last year. What's the best way for them to kind of get all the info out?
Yeah, so we have a page. I'll get Jackie the link. I should have already had that here in front of me, but there's just a form they fill out. It goes right to our provisioning department, and they provision it. So if I'm a teacher in a classroom, kind of the steps that it looks like for you, you really want to involve your IT department. Like if you don't have an Adobe solution where logins are set up, we can integrate with almost anything to use your existing school accounts. So we can just use those accounts and the kids will be able to sign in. We have a team even that will help stand it up. So if you don't have great IT folks or you need help, we have solutions from simple connectors for Google where you could just sign into a little thing and it'll connect your Google directory to Adobe. And we can go really granular into all kinds of stuff. So we have a team to help, and they just need to sign up. They just do a free Spark account. And then as soon as those kids are in there from IT, once they sync that and put those kids in, then you can fill the form out and they'll get access. So that process takes maybe 30 to 40 minutes to stand that up.
Wow.
So,
it's just,
yeah.
So stoked to be working with Adobe because that's such a cool, generous, move for these schools that are struggling, man. It's nobody wants anything extra, but it's just nobody saw this coming. So it's really cool that Adobe's, flexing its financial and resource muscles to solve solutions for education. It's amazing.
I mean, you think, they're standing it up for free. And we started it in March. We had a little break for a couple of weeks, and then it'll be going till January. So almost for a year, we just turned it all on for free to make sure K-12 was good. And so, but I mean, to your point, the resources, I'm there. We have 4 or 5 account managers that take care of K-12. We've got a whole onboarding team, that is standing all this up. So, I mean, last year when COVID hit, I think, I don't know the exact number, but I think we provisioned probably 5 to 10 million accounts in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It all just happened. So, I mean, the fact that, a big company like this was able to just stand that up, that was really exciting for me to be wow, all those users just got access in no time. So, but yeah, so that's where we're at today is you can stand it all up for free. I think if you just tell your IT guy, hey, we need some Adobe tools, they'll be able to probably do that. We've worked with most of the schools already. So, it's just, Rob, that's what I like about being here is, Adobe's mission is to increase the creative capacity of the world. That's why we're here is to help people create however they need to create. And, being in the K-12 space and seeing this kind of stuff happen it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's good.
So we have a question, Dan. It says, so if we have named user licenses, normally our license is now available to all our kids, not just our number of licenses.
So the way to think about this is you have your Adobe solution that's been going on, whatever that is. Okay. Then what we did is on top of that, our provisioning team in the background said any user that's in this console is going to be able to download software at home. And so let's say you had a thing stood up, you only had 6 users in it because those were your licenses. And then we turn this on. Well, so then if you went in and added another 8,000 users, all of those users are going to get access the moment you add them. You don't have to do anything. You just put them in the console. And so for example, we had some really big cities that we've been working with that had Spark deployed for everybody. So to give you an idea, I'm not going to say with customer names, but they had 1.3 million logins for students for Spark. And so overnight, their console got turned on and they'll have access now to all of our stuff at home.
Wow.
For all of those kids. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Was that for staff too? Or
yeah, anybody in the K-12 org, you put them in the console and it will work. So we just wanted to eliminate all the friction.
Yep.
So that, everybody. So the idea here is we're trying to give schools an opportunity to get on their feet and to figure out, what does February look like when my licensing isn't free anymore? Like, what do I need to do now to February so that like when it turns off, like I'm ready to be able to provide that for my students? And, you know, even then they're doing, you know, I'm not a licensing guy. I won't talk about finance, but they do a proration even. Like if you were supposed to buy some month and you didn't get it till February, they only charge you from like the part of the year. So like it's pretty cool the way they're doing all this.
And this, I'm assuming this is only for like CC licenses, not like people have got old CS6. You haven't upgraded in a decade or whatever. You're kind of.
Yeah. Well, as long as they have a current license. So like that's going to be like even the device licenses from 2018 that have serial numbers, we can do that for those as well. As long as it's a current license. So if you paid and you're current right now, the COVID offers available. So if you hadn't moved to that named stuff and you've just been sitting on a serial number and just buying it year after year, the serial numbers are only available in K-12. But if you're one of those folks that have it, you just have to build the identity part with the IT folks, and then you can have it.
That's unreal.
I mean, right? It's just crazy to me. So it's exciting. And my manager actually, he came up with an idea that I wanted to share. This is kind of a cool thing because, you know, we're giving it for free now so people can come up with solutions as to how to stand this up for February, right? And so, like, I just got to share this. General terms is, you know, our licensing for like a named user outside COVID after the free offer is like $5 a kid for the year. And you have a minimum purchase. So essentially the number is $2,500. So $2,500 gives you 500 logins for the whole year. And those can be switched at semester. So if you had like 100 kids and they moved out and new kids came into classes, you can change those licenses. So it's really 500 people, anyone in your org, $2,500. So we got thinking about, you know, how could a school, so we're talking K-12. So K-12 licensing. And my manager came up with a cool idea. He said, you know, Adobe doesn't prohibit this, and it would probably even be encouraged, is if, say, at registration or something, you could say to a parent, you know, do you want your kid to have a Creative Cloud? And for $10, the parent could pay for the Creative Cloud. And then you could fundraise essentially and say, you know, for $10, you could buy it. It only costs them $5. And then the kid that couldn't afford it, it covers, you only got to come up with $2,500 and you can cover 500 students. So
you're saying like do like how you know, wood shop does a lab fee, like do like a lab fee and then make it $10. That would cover their kid and another kid. You know, and $10 for your kid to have Creative Cloud for like the whole year. Yeah, which is normally what, $240?
Retail when it's out there outside of education, it's $800 a year. So when you're a commercial, so when you get into higher ed, it's like $240-ish.
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
Like it's education price. So for $10, the kid can have it and their friend.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saving $230.
Right.
Off the price that was already $500 off the price for commercial, which it's just ridiculous. Don't just stay home. Don't go to Wendy's for lunch and you got it covered.
That's right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so, you know, there is that minimum, but I mean, in a lot of situations, you know, so that's like a site license. Like if a high school just wanted to stand it up, they need 500 logins. That's $2,500. So that's the entry level point. There's bigger solutions for like district, you know, if they want to do it for the whole district wide, that's fine. We have options for that, but you know, so anyway, I'm just trying to think about like the low hanging fruit, like the folks that just don't have a lot of resources, like what's the lowest entry and, you know, so like even your club, you know, if you had like a BPA club or TSA, you know, when they sign up, you could say, hey, for an extra $10, we can give you Creative Cloud too. And you can use that money to pay for the license. So just a thought, you know, that's me being like Mr. Teacher in the classroom. How would I get this paid for if I didn't have any resources, you know? So I'd go rogue.
And, you know, that's also the kind of thing where I wonder if there might even be, if you had really good, you know, strong business partners, which I think you always had that, Dan. Erin, for example, I know she always has had that, and I had that. you could probably just hit them up and say, look, $2,500 would change the world for our school this year.
Sure.
You know, it's fully, you can write it off easy.
Yep. And a lot of folks too, if they do matching, like I know our Adobe folks, anybody at Adobe that donates, Adobe matches at 100%. So if you can find, you know, someone that is in that kind of situation, you could, you know, you could donate $750. Well, sorry, like what would it be, like $1,300?
Yeah.
And they'd match it, and the whole school's got 500 licenses for the year.
Wow. So Adobe does that matching, you're saying?
Yeah, so like our employees, so like if I donate money and give it to somebody, Adobe matches at 100%. So yeah, so that helps our donation and like our community part of this go really well, because you know, somebody like me could step in and, you know, maybe I got $500 I can donate, but Adobe will match that, so we can give 1,000. So you know,
so okay, so cool. That's a you as an Adobe employee, Adobe thing, not a, okay, gotcha.
I bring that out because like there's a lot of companies, like I know Heinz and Microsoft and a bunch of them do that. So if you had a parent that worked at one of those corporations, they probably have matching funds is what I was trying to pull out of that. Yeah.
So parents, maybe we should, you know, teachers, tag those parents that are working at large corporations, even if they're, you know, not necessarily upper management. A lot of times those options are available, and just through that parent, you could access that.
Yeah.
So Aaron asked if they're set to expire in November, should they renew then or wait until February?
Yeah. Well, I would say always when you're talking about licensing, it's good to involve either the person you purchased from, you know, whoever your reseller is, or an Adobe account manager. But if it's me, and I know that I've been on calls with folks, what I'm telling you is you have free licensing for people to be able to download at home until the end of January. And so I think the key thing is in February, what does it look like? So, I mean, if you have a renewal date in November, I mean, and you buy in February, they're just going to charge you that prorated part, I believe. But again, I'm not the licensing guy, but certainly you would be covered from November to the end of January. You know, so, and I want to make sure it's clear too. So what we're giving is the ability for the user account to be able to install software at home. So the school sets them up with like a free Spark entitlement that turns on like all the services and stuff for the Creative Cloud. And then we add to that the ability for the user to download at home. So it's not like a full blown, like, you know, named user license, if you will, but there's such minimal differences that it's just not worth calling out even.
And this also isn't just freebie. Anybody can do this. This is, you guys have a license at school, but the kids can't access it. Adobe's going to help deliver that to the house. Got it. Okay. Yep. That's good clarity.
And you work with your account manager, the person you buy from, like all of our resellers know. And, you know, we're pretty clear about that. And we want to do whatever's easiest, cheapest, best, you know, for the schools. So
yeah, I'll tell you what, the whole shift, I remember a big shift in just the way that Adobe felt, because, you know, I've been in AEL for a long time.
Yeah.
And when it went to that $5 thing, I feel like that was Mark. Mark made that happen. Mark Rupert, wasn't that his name?
Yeah. We had Mark Rupert, and then we had a really great guy I just love, Sharif Kamali, that he came up with the original idea, because what we had is we were selling for $25 a login initially. And it was because it cost us about $2,500 to stand up a console. And so that number was sort of the baseline. And so, well, what if we just made it $5 to log in, but you have to buy 500 instead of 25 and you buy 100? And that way we could give it to more people for the same price. And so the same then came out of it, but you got access to 500 users instead of 100. So, you know, that changed a bit from the days when we started up the whole Idaho thing. You know, it was a little different then.
Yeah. Speaking of Idaho.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, wrong one. Oh, where's that? Here we go. Do you know Annette?
Oh, Annette. Hey. Oh my gosh. No, yeah, I love my Idaho people. Like, I might live in Utah, but I'm still an Idaho boy. There's no going back on that. So, yeah, I know it's good.
Erin said that she's confused. It's probably because I was talking, but yeah. So Erin, I think what's going on is and so you can tell me if I got this right, Dan. As long as the school has a license for the software, they can use it.
Right.
It's not a freebie though. So even if they had it now, they'll have it until February, but then it just gets cut off. If you get a license and yours expired in November, then you're going to pay for that anyway. Like your start date will be not a year from February 1, but a year from when you end it.
And there's things too, like it's just a minimum purchase, right? So like, I'm not trying to, again, I usually never say anything about licensing because when I do, I step in the soup and I'm a mess. But really what it comes down to is like what you said, Rob, you have to have a minimum purchase. So for a school, that's like 500 seats. I think it's like 2,500 for a district if they want that. But beyond that, as long as you have a valid active license, you can take part in the COVID thing. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's,
cool.
There's a lot of things there that we could discuss with individual schools, make it better, that aren't necessarily for everybody and stuff. But just, if you need help, get with your account manager. We'll make sure you get taken care of. That's really what it comes to.
Yeah.
So, wow. That's good.
So let's talk about that Idaho project.
Yes, let's do that.
So I remember when we were both teachers and AELs, and at the summer conference, you were kind of talking about this whole idea of this big state rollout. And I was just thinking, how is this guy pulling together all the people, all the resources, how do you make those connections, and I realize now it's because I'm an introverted weirdo, but I was just amazed. I'm like, how is he getting all those gears to turn and then connect so that they're all working with each other? So tell us about that Idaho project and how that got started and where it's at now.
Yeah, I got to tell you too, Robbie, I'm a person who has a lot of faith in my life. I know that God had a lot to do with where I'm at today, and I got a lot of help. But I do want to share this story because it is it's one of those very intriguing things, because I started where I think a lot of teachers start. I was new teacher, super on fire, way excited. I got a big grant my first year of teaching, and I was killing it. And in fact, we won a national competition. We got first place in the entire country in graphic design. And the next month, my principal came in and said, well, we're expanding the office and we're taking your classroom. We're just destroying your program. We're moving you into this little room. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it was because two secretaries in the office couldn't get along. So they had to separate them and make a separate space for the other secretary. I mean, in the business world, you just peace out, dude. Yeah. You can't get along with the team. See ya. But no, so I lost my whole program that I'd built over 6 years. And so I ended up going to new school and, they told me a bunch of stuff. Didn't turn out to be what I needed. And then I got into a new building, brand new building. They needed direction. And what happened, this is what I think kicked it all off, is they were building a big $58 million building. And I was like, and I knew one of the teachers, I knew their technology plan was terrible. They didn't even have one. And so I had a little bit of forwardness. I went and sat down. I got invited to sit down with their principal of this new building. And I told her, I said, look, I know your plan for technology and it sucks. And I just want to make sure your school doesn't suck. I didn't even work there or anything. And so I gave her this whole plan about how you could lay out a computer lab with a print studio, everything. And she was like, so she went to a few people and she called me the next day and she said, hey, they decided they're going to buy everything on the want list. I'd given them this is what you would need. And if it was me, I would do this. And I said, what do you mean they bought everything on the want list? They said no, they just wrote a PO for $110,000 and bought everything on your want list. Do you want a job? And so then that's what kicked it off, Rob, really, is I had to get around the right people. So I would say anything that's going to happen, you have to have that mindset, people. There's a great book out there called The Energy Bus that I would highly suggest folks go check that out. It talks about being the CEO, which is the chief energy officer. It's your job to bring the energy. And why do people get on your bus, right? It makes that whole analogy of why do we get on a bus? And it's because of where it's going. So you got to think. So that's how I start everything, is the vision. This is where I'm going. Would you like to be part of it? And it helps to weed out the folks that are I'm not going to do that, really quickly. And the people that do get it, they go, oh my gosh, yes, I want on the bus, and here's my bus ticket. Like, I'll pay for it. Because they know where it's going to go. So if it's a program of any kind, what is the bus route, you know? Why are people going to do that? So anyway, so that's what kicked it off. And so then my principal was on the bus. And so then I just had to find the right guy at the state. And, you know, some guy at the state was running around saying, hey, I got extra money. I don't know what to do with it. And I said, hey, look, I have a plan. That's how I started my conversation with him. I have a plan. And he looked at the plan. He said, that might actually work. But I mean, you can't get it in the door if you don't have a plan or an idea. So that's how I did it, Rob, is I just had the plan and I just worked the plan. I knew it was a good one. I'd done the research. And so it just was a matter of finding the right people. And so, you know. Anyway.
And I think Candy agrees with you. She says, too many people sit back and wait for things to come to them. And I think that's true for a lot of people.
It's not crazy. I mean, like, so this is the way I met this guy, though. This was funny. Rick Kennedy at the state of Idaho is one of my favorite people. He's great. So we had this meeting about certification for Microsoft. And at the time I was in a role where they didn't want me at the meeting because the problem is, see, I knew too much. And so if I get involved in the meeting, then now it changes from what they wanted it to be. So I was dangerous because I knew too much. And so I came to the meeting, and when I sat down, you know, that person she gave me that eye. Like, you did what? And so I said nothing. And I think this is probably the first time I'm admitting this publicly, actually. So hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me. So he said, I got to go, you know, meeting's over. He's leaving. And I said, hey guys, I'll be right back. You know, I got to go to the bathroom. And I literally followed him out into the parking lot. And it was the first time I said any words. I was like, look, I wasn't supposed to say anything in there, so I didn't. I said, but I have an idea. And so I pitched my idea in 3 minutes in the parking lot, and then he had to leave. And then he called me back like 2 months later. He's like, look, I finally got everything off my plate. I did want to talk to you about this because I thought your pitch was great. So, but I couldn't have done it on the spot. Like, I knew what I needed like 7 months, 8 months, like 2 years in advance, right? I always knew what I wanted. I just had to find the right person to make it stick. You know, so it's like you said, Rob, like, you know, when we first started talking about this clear back in the day, it was like I had an idea. I kind of knew what it would look like. But then I needed to, you know, start filling in holes with people, like who could do that. And so that's what happened. We just found the guy that had the money that needed to spend it, and I didn't want it to get wasted. And I think he knew my intention was that I didn't want it wasted, not that I wanted some shiny new thing.
Yeah.
And that's what made the difference.
You know, that just reminded me of something. And Jackie, I don't know if you did this too, but I remember, I think I learned this in a workshop at like some CTE conference. But the dude said, you should always have in your drawer like 5 POs or whatever, the request forms ready to go. One for $100, one for $250, one for $500, one for $1,000, one for $5,000, one for $10,000. And they should all be different. So that if they come to you and they say, we've got, you know, $750, I'm going to turn in my $500 and my $250 together. Boom, here you go. And because that happened to me where we had one guy in our district in particular who he would just hoard the money and never spend it. He'd say no to everything. And then there's 3 weeks left. And he's like, we have to spend $176,382 by Tuesday. And it's like Friday. And I was always ready. I
think that's really good advice. Only because I worked so long. I worked, I think, like 3 years before certification became a thing. And for our school, I worked for 3 years with no budget, zero budget. I mean, like not even money to get textbooks. And it was at the time that Adobe was only doing, licensing for one program at a time. It wasn't this pre-cloud, basically. So I remember when certification became a thing, and was the top certifying center in the world, and now CAPE money was coming in, which is a Florida thing, by the way, teachers. I want to say it was like $50,000 or $60,000. They're like, you have $50,000 or $60,000 for your program, and I was like, who does? Me? Well, I don't even know what to do with that money because I'm used to nothing. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. It's a good, because you just never know. You never know when there's going to be budget and there's going to be money to spend for your program.
Well, and Jackie, to your point, I do know when there's money, and it's always in May.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be spent, and nobody did anything.
And nobody did it until,
So
I learned it quickly.
I had 1 year at my last school where I had just kind of, I always had the plan, right? Like to Rob's point, if somebody looks at you and says, where's the next $10,000 going? You have to know the answer to that question. Yeah. Like you have to know the next 10 grand I get, this is what's happening. And and everybody knew, because I made it known that I was always the guy with a plan and I knew where money needed to go. So if you need a place, I know where to put it. Not like, I want your money. And so every May, it happened to me like 3 years in a row. They would come to me because they'd have leftover money that, maybe the shop didn't spend or whoever. And it's just leftover CTE money that has to get spent. And I'd be like, well, how much do we have, to Rob's point? And so I always had a PO for ink because I ran a print shop, And they're like, well, we got about $2,300. Okay, well, here's $1,100 for ink. And then I need, these other replacement things. And they had it within minutes because I already knew what we needed. And 1 year, there's almost $7 grand left over, and they bought me a new printer because they knew that I needed it and they knew where it was going to go. And because I'd already discussed it with them and I'd already told them, like, there's a plan for this. It just, probably have to wait till next year because I got to get my CTE budget, And then boom, it was like, hey, we bought it. It's coming in 2 days. I didn't even do anything. Yeah. But it was because they needed a place for it to go. So that's that whole principle of the bus. Where's the bus going? And if people know, then they'll help you. But if you don't got a plan,
speaking of the bus, knowing the proper bus driver.
Yes.
It's also a huge benefit because Candy here is my friend from Seminole Ridge, and she was the bookkeeper who made those purchases for like the internal funds or whatever. And she knew, like I did, I really had it down to the penny. When I'd have like 2 or 3 printers that I'm like, all 3 of them will kind of work. I would look to like the price and then how is that going to puzzle piece in with these other things I need so I don't leave $3 extra. Like I'm going to use all of it. Very strategic that way. So
right.
Yeah. The right bus keepers.
This is so true too, because to Candy's little comment down here about the principal and the bookkeepers, that's what happened for me in my last school and how things went so well. I can't underestimate and tell you how important it is to have your vision, because like when I came into that school, my principal was fully on board, but everybody in that school, they had split a high school. And so they actually they had a draft, right? So that each principal said, I'm going to take this person, then I'm going to take that person. And they went back and forth. And my principal just left a hole for a technology teacher, knowing that she had me in her back pocket. And so then I get there and all these people work there and I'm now the new guy. And, my POs are coming through, all this stuff's working. And I'm finding out my colleagues aren't getting it. Like their POs aren't coming through. Things are, So I asked her about it. I said, what's going on? And she said, well, I sat the front ladies down. I said, this guy will never go over his budget. Stay out of his way. And I never had one problem. And it's because the right people were on my team. And it's because there was a vision and some goals, So anyway, yeah, that's how Create Idaho, the whole thing happened, was we just had a vision and a goal that people wanted to get behind. It made sense, it needed to happen. So yeah, but you guys played a huge part in that, Rob, that we have to talk about that part of this too, because Brain Buffet, dude, we had I remember, where were we at? Like we were up in the Catskills, I think, up near like the Woodstock area in northern New York when I brought this up to you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, Lisa Deeks, she told me to talk to you about this thing. And, I didn't know even at that time that you really were doing anything. I didn't know that Brain Buffet was really a thing. And it was kind of, I think still pretty new, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you'd been doing it a while and I didn't know.
It was running like it was new when it was about a decade old. Now it runs like a real business because this idiot's not in charge of stuff.
Yeah. Well, as I told you, I said, I think we're going to do this statewide thing. This is July. We got it done in November. And Lisa told me to talk to you. And I remember you kind of looking at me going, maybe there's like something I could do in there. Like, I don't really know why I'm getting drug into this. And then like all of a sudden we were looking at each other in March going, dude, without you, I'd have been so hosed. Because we decided to go with a full solution instead of just, getting logins. And so we got everything done with Idaho. We got college credit for the kids. We got certification. We got college credit for teachers. And what we did, Rob, and it's a testament to your guys' product, is we went to the university for the professional development credits for the teachers. And we were able to show them Brain Buffet and how long it takes to go through the training. And so we use that timing to justify the 3 credits for the teacher getting certified, to say, they go through all this training before they're able to go through this certification exam. And the university said, well, that's good enough for us to be able to say it can be a 3-credit professional development course, because you can show us like the training they're going to go through and how long it's going to take. So that was a really big win for the teachers to be able to do their recertification. That's big time.
Well, a testament to you too about knowing even that part and making those connections. Like, you've got a part kind of like David, our CEO at Brain Buffet now, or our president. He's really good at like, oh yeah, this guy knows how to turn that gear and that guy knows how to turn that one. And he can just figure them out and say, man, if we pull those together, there's this crazy synergy that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And speaking of crazy synergy, we've got some of our other AELs online.
Matthias. Yeah.
What's up? Yeah. What's happening where you are right now?
No kidding. That's a guy that's dedicated right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
oh my gosh. Bro, we got a
Vampire
lot of our good friends on right here. This is amazing.
Yeah, Lebrec, we were just talking about you this morning. I was talking on a call. We were talking about the animate stuff, and it kind of came up like how I started with Flash and then found Scotchco, and then I met you. And so I went through my Flanimate journey this morning.
So Rob, I want to ask some questions. You said you're working on version 3 of your book. I want to throw some stuff out there on this, because I think your books are like, they're the sleeping resource that people, for some reason, like, there's some good stuff that those books fill an awesome hole. And I think people, I think they might think like, we get ACA test prep, Brain Buffet, and we're good. And, in my classroom, we were pretty good. Most of my kids would pass their first attempt. It wasn't a big deal. But then, in education, we have this thing where we want to show like remediation and adapting for the needs of the students, So when the kid doesn't pass, then what do you do? And normally, like my math classes I always took, it was like, well, go do that worksheet again until you remember how to do it. And it's like, well, it didn't help me the first time. So I think it's not going to do any good to repeat it. I always got told that about writing. You don't like it because you haven't done enough. No, I'm a lefty and my arm is swollen. That's why I don't like it. Like, So what we did is we had the electronic version of the book. That comes with, I think, still when you purchase the book, I would guess. Yep. The first version did. But then there's like, I think there's like some videos in there that are different. Is that right? From like the stuff in Brain Buffet?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the book. Photoshop, I know for sure. I was specific about making sure I use different images and everything when we redid the Brain Buffet stuff. So if you have Brain Buffet and you have the book, then that's 2 projects covering each sort of section. Similar concepts, but like photo editing in the book and then photo editing in Brain Buffet are different images, different presentation, different, Yeah.
So we used that for our remediation. In the back of the Photoshop book, you have like that matrix that said, here's the objective, here's the video that goes with it. So I could just say to the kid, like, here's the objectives you struggled in. Go do this section of the book. So it's new content presented a little bit different way to kind of shake that up for them. And so then I wasn't just giving them the same thing, and it didn't feel like I was just telling them to be smarter,
Yeah.
And so those books were great for me. And the authors that you guys have managed to put together for those, I mean, I couldn't say
Speaking
that.
of,
You did great. Yeah, I know. I was going to say, is anyone better at animate than Lebrec? Maybe Matthias is catching up. Like, I mean, there's some good stuff going on there, So I'm just saying, like the authors, like Joe Dockery, like for video. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, and the price is right. Like, you know, and if they're digital, then your CTE funds, you might be able to figure that out with the right CTE director. And anyway, I just want to bring it up because I loved your books. They were a great supplement to what we were doing with Brain Buffet. It really helped.
Wow, thanks.
So,
yeah,
no, it was just good. It's a good fill in for like those spots for those kids that struggled. So,
well, and Jackie and I were talking about it this week too, that like how crazy our team is. Like, it's just, you know, it's such a blessing. Like, you know, it's not me. It's I happened to get into this Macromedia that became Adobe thing because I came in through Dreamweaver and now I'm the Photoshop guy. But, you know, in that process, I met like all the best educators about creative software in the world. And so when I do a project, just like Dan knows how to pull all the, like, I wanted to use the word political. I know that's not the one, but like, you know, bookkeepers and decision makers, policy makers, you can pull all those people together. I can do that.
Right. Network.
Huh?
Network.
Yeah. But
right.
Yeah. And Dan's really like, I can't see how Dan sees it about like, oh, policy plus bookkeeping and accounting plus the budget plus you know, I can't see those things so well, but I can see educators in the style and then think about how kids will receive, you know, generally speaking, different types of kids receiving different type of info. And I'm like, oh, we need that person for that. We need that style of that delivery vibe for this thing. And that's really, I've only noticed that kind of recently, been able to sort of pay attention to that and recognize that.
Yeah.
So it's such a cool group. I remember when I met you the first time, you were doing the lenticular lenses on the printed posters, posters. And I was like, this guy is cuckoo, my kind of guy.
I loved it. Yeah, we did, dude. That was like, I just sort of like to lay that out there, like what Rob's talking about. These are like the little Cracker Jack box things, you know, and you tip them and they change. So we're like printing that. And then there's like a lens that goes on top of that thing. So like your printout looks like this, like it's all scattered and split and it's like funky. You can't even tell what it is. And there's a single red line that's like basically 1 pixel. And you have to put it right in the channel on the lens. And the whole back of it's sticky. So if you screw it up, like the whole thing's ruined. You throw it away. And we went through like 40 lenses for like 3 outcomes. But it was that kind of crazy, weird stuff that was just like, it was awesome. We all had our little red and blue 3D glasses on while we were editing it so we could see it on screen. Yeah. I loved that project. I wish we could bring that back to Photoshop. You know, to Russell Brown's words, it'll still work if you have CS4. Which I do have a copy of CS4 for that one.
Of course you do.
So
Dan's also like the gadget of technology. You're like, oh yeah, if we only had a 1982 Betamax with a BNC output. And Dan's like, hey, wait a minute. Here you go.
Dude, that's totally right. We were playing the original Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo last week for my kid's birthday. A little gold cartridge. That was fun.
Dude.
That's right. My kid actually pulled a Wii disc out. It wasn't reading. He tried to blow on the CD and put it back in. I was like, no, dude, that one doesn't work like that.
That's different. Yeah. How do you keep
Nintendo thing?
How do you keep your blow and wipe technologies like properly divided in the child's brain? You know,
oh no,
blow into these. If it's square, you blow into it. If it's round, you wipe it gently in a circular motion.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm watching him play Mario Kart, and he's turning that Super Nintendo controller, and it isn't moving him. He's like, I don't get it, Dad. I can't play it. Anyway,
hey, Nintendo, restart. Nintendo, Dad, his thing doesn't even, the voice recognition doesn't even work on the Nintendo from 1982.
Oh, geez, man, that's good stuff. I love it, Rob. Yeah.
So I do think that this might be an important comment. Candy was saying that she had a student. I mean, students are so brutally honest, and I feel like the younger they are, the more honest they are, as I have found with my homeschooling students. She said a student asked her if he decides to come back to the classroom, will she actually teach? because I guess he feels like there's not actual teaching happening in the virtual venue.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I would feel the same way though. Like I've noticed, like, I've really stepped back a lot in like the day-to-day at Brain Buffet, because I'm realizing not having the kids there, like not being able to have that back and forth with goofy kids is driving me insane. It's just draining me out. I'm feeling just not good as a human, like I don't feel right. And it's exactly that. It's like I need human interaction for it to work, or it kind of doesn't. I can't pick up on whatever it is that I pick up on the room about if it's working or not working or kids like it. I can't feel that anymore. And I feel so out of touch. It's very hard for me. So I think kids and teachers both are struggling with this.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's just we as people need another connection. We're social creatures, and I think this whole thing has obviously affected everybody, students and teachers and just people in general.
Yeah.
And I think that's the component virtual teaching misses. I think that's the component that, we need to as parents, and because it's nothing really as teachers we can do, because the teachers can't really, make the social connections through a computer. That's what we have to do and supplement as parents. So we are, I think, really having to rely on the parents being very heavily involved in this. So essentially the parents are kind of homeschooling their kids, even though there's a teacher at the end of the camera on the other side. So it's really the parents who we're calling upon to, like, it's a full-fledged village effort. It takes a village to raise the kids. It's a full-fledged village effort at this point.
Well, and to your point, Jackie, I mean, we have 5 kids that are in the system. So I have 2 in high school. I got a middle school. I got elementary, and I got 1 in early childhood preschool.
God bless you.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Oh my goodness. I've only got 2, and I'm like,
yeah. So to your point here, if the districts could even say, look, we're not going to control everything, but homework is going to come out on Monday, and it's going to be due on Tuesday, and teachers do whatever else you want in the middle of that, but that's when homework happens. If there was some structure, because now as a parent, I never know when anything's due. I have 2 kids that between them, they have 16 teachers. We got another 5 teachers at the middle school, plus my elementary and the early child. So I'm dealing with 25 teachers that have no common schedule at all. So like when you think about like the parent side of it,
I see what you're saying, Dan.
It's insane, because the district isn't going to come out and say, schools, we only issue homework on Monday and Wednesday, and it can't be due except for on Friday. Like I had my kid last year, they come to me in May and they're like, Dad, we can't go to this thing. What do you mean? My English teacher put this thing up late Thursday night and it's due Saturday before the next week. So now I got homework due on a Saturday and my family can't go because we got to deal with this stupid English project that popped up on Thursday. And so that schedule part, and like as a parent, like managing this, it's tough, And so then the kid, you think about the kid, he's going, well, I don't want to mess up the family thing. I don't want to bug Dad with this. He's already doing all these other things for work. Yeah. So like it's really, so then the kid's going, dude, I need that interaction, and that's where the teacher can help, right? Like I remember the days I'd be in the room and Greta, I will never forget her. She comes in, what Marvel movie are we arguing about today? And we're talking about Marvel. She's creating cool stuff, and we're still, to this day, we would probably walk in a room and have a conversation about the new Marvel movies and what we're arguing about. And it's that part of it, the human part that's just organic, that I think is what Rob's saying is, when we're just at home, like I'm down here in my basement, 9 feet under the ground, doing my thing. And it's like, that's not who I am as a human. Like I'm used to having people around and talking to them and being involved. And so it's difficult. So between the parent stress, the kids trying to figure it out, and then they don't have anyone but their parent to go to, it's tough. And so anyway.
Yeah, Lebrec is saying that his school and his job, he works at a university, I believe, and his district is they're really doing a great job kind of keeping things together.
Yeah, that's good.
And that, when it's super organized, and he's right, it has to be. Like, this is so challenging. Like, as we think about teachers, how challenging it is, and I'm like, oh, well, don't you have a computer at home? Well, yeah, we have a computer at home, and I have 2 brothers and a dad who's working at home remote. So yeah, I got a computer, but I can't use it because dad's making the money to pay the bills so we can stay in the home with the computer. And then my brother and my sister also have to do it. So,
yeah.
And it's not just the technology, it's also the Wi-Fi usage.
Yep.
I mean, we've run into that, Rob. You would, on our team meetings, we've even run into issues where, like, if too many people are on a Wi-Fi, the connection for that person is like cut down. So it's, and it's, it's so many. I read it a lot in because I have a lot of teacher friends, obviously, on social media. A lot of people are saying, this year every single teacher has been pushed back into their first year of teaching. I mean, if you can recall your first year of teaching, where you were kind of just trying to figure things out, and you threw like 10 things against the wall and was like, okay, which one sticks, which one works, and that, I feel like, is where almost every educator has, unless. It's pretty much how we all are acting right now. Like, okay, well, that didn't work, so let's move to the next thing. So it's a lot of that, and because now you're juggling your actual teaching, and then you're, like you said, your kids who are also trying to do their work, and it's just, we're all going to need a really great vacation.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Not the truth.
Yeah. But Breck was saying that even for him, he mentioned earlier, it was not the university, but his K-12 kids, the 2 districts were doing great.
Yeah.
But spring was a train wreck. But of course it was. I think it was for everybody. Everybody.
And I think, Rob, that's a good note that brings us back full circle. This whole conversation is, when we talked about all this stuff internally, it was like, we just need to give them some time to be able to get a plan put in place, because spring and summer was like, there was bigger fires to put out than Adobe. And the problem was, a lot of our teachers that teach Adobe were like, that is the fire. And so now the districts are finally kind of getting around to that point where they can actually have time to think about, what's a good solution to move forward. And so that's where we really wanted to just step this up with, the free licensing, is to say, here, you just have it for 5 months. Let's work together. Let's figure something out, lots of solutions out there, and we've got people that are happy to help with all that. But it's just, if we could just get our tools for like teachers organized, so at least then they don't have to worry about that part of it,
Yeah.
And, I will say, I know that, like, we talked a little bit about virtualization and stuff. I've worked with it quite a bit. We've worked with Amazon and others, and it's pretty good. It's not perfect. I'm not going to stand here and say like virtualization is the perfect Photoshop experience, but it's pretty good. Like, if all you have is a Chromebook, it's not bad. So,
all right, well, hopefully, our Brain Buffet tech team is meeting with Adobe today to see if we can provide something to teachers that's affordable, that that we could just manage it. Just to make it happen. Just to make it happen. So
that's right. So anyway, we're here for you, and anything we can do, you give these Brain Buffet folks, they know how to get a hold of me. We can take care of anything that needs to happen. It's just conversation and a plan. Let's make a plan.
Yep. Yeah. So, seeing the way you work, it's just all clicking today, Dan. Like, how you work. It's really, you're very strategic.
Well, I mean, it's even like right now, this is a little off topic, but we're putting in a sprinkler system in our house, and I decided to do it. So I paid somebody $100. He drew up the plan. It shows me where every sprinkler head goes, where it's going to spray, like everything. And so now I'm just putting Legos together, man. I'm just connecting things, and but as long as you have a good plan, you could do it. So,
Yep. Cool. Well, for teachers looking for other extra cool plans and cool resources, check out our YouTube channel right down there below. And Facebook, we're not actually too active with Facebook except for the live stuff, but occasionally we, we'll have posts and stuff and we share things there. But so stoked. You know, we can see that we had some guests come. A lot of our views for these shows happen after the live show. So those of you that are here live, thanks so much for dropping in. And those of you that catch us later, glad we're here to kind of share this conversation with you.
Yeah, we'll see you again next week.
Yep. Thanks, Dan, everybody.
Thank you so much for your time, your insights into Adobe's perspective on all of this. I'm proud to be an Adobe teacher because I'm super stoked about how they're stepping up and solving this problem. It's something to be proud of.
No, I appreciate that, Rob. And we are, and we just want to help. That's really, honestly, I could say that's the truth. We're just here to try to help people get a solution for kids so they can create awesome things. So
it's awesome. That's why I'm living, man.
Right.
Okay. So, all right.
Well, I appreciate
everybody.